Hello and welcome to a very wet Mumbai today. But what I promise you is going to be a very sunny chat on Adda With Kalyan, because I've got with me some friends of mine whom we've been in touch with ever since we've been blogging for about the last 6 or 8 years. And it's been really fascinating to see their journeys, because they all started as bloggers and since then they've moved on to do various things in the world of food. So what we're going to see is how their journey has been, how they've moved on to different parts when it comes to food. With us, we've got Regina, who's one of the earliest food bloggers in the country, and you know her through many avatars, which you're going to discover today. You've got Nikhil of the blog Nonchalant Gourmand, who's soon going to open a restaurant on Indian food in LA. So it's not like a restaurant off the block, but it's slightly far away. But I'm sure we'll go there and eat one day. We also have with us Sai of the blog My Jhola. She was also one of the earliest bloggers, been blogging for about 8 years and been working with a lot of people as consultants, has done bread baking classes and a lot of interesting work, has got a book deal now. And joining us all the way from Bangalore, where I hope the weather is much brighter, is Nandita of the very popular blog Saffron Trail, who's made quite a name for herself off late with the baking and salad classes which she does, which is like talk of the town in Bangalore. So we've got a very interesting panel with us, and today we're going to talk about how from being food bloggers they've moved on to other dimensions in the world of food. I'm going to start with you, Regina, whom I always call the woman of many firsts. So you had actually started food writing before blogging, then you got into blogging. Yes. Then you wrote with quite a few people in mass media. You were one of the first people to start food walks. You were one of the first few people to start cooking classes. You were one of the first few people to start your own cooking studio over here, which has been a fantastic achievement. And now you're doing all these regional food events around food in your studio. So a lot of firsts and very diverse fields. Did the blog help you anyway in that?
I think it did. I think I got a lot of exposure because of the blog. So what happened was, when I first started, I started as a food writer. I had a blog which wrote about different things, talked about different things. And then at one point I realized that, you know, the future of industry was the internet. And at that point, if you looked for me in Google, you'd find me with some random posts on some mommy websites. I won't get into the details of them. But I realized that anyone who wanted to do anything with writing or food writing needed a space online, and a friend had introduced me to blogging earlier, and it seemed the perfect way to take it forward. Because also what happened was, I was at that point writing for about 15-20 different magazines, but you didn't have the freedom to write what you wanted. You were always at the mercy of the editorial decisions, and there were many topics I wanted to write on which editors didn't really want stories on. So it was
you've written this book which is pretty popular and has won awards as well, a pinch of this and a handful of that. Yeah, it's so was it difficult to maintain a distance between what you're doing on your blog and the book? Because people would say that we've already read you in the blog, why buy a book?
Well, the first couple of chapter ideas were on the blog as posts. They still exist over there. I think the blog's always been a sort of igniter of ideas. It was always a great way to figure out what people liked, because the more popular posts were the topics people liked reading. I have managed to pretty much keep most of my blog writing and the rest of my work separate. The blog is my space. It's where I explore what I want to explore.
So I want to come back to you and talk about the cooking studio. But before that, Nikhil, you're coming up with this restaurant called Imli in LA, and which is going to be about Indian food. Now, when I was going through your blog, it's not really about Indian food. So does that become a problem, because you have one personality in your blog and what you're planning to do out there is very different? So how will you manage to do it?
I'm going to take up from what Regina said earlier about, you know, the blog being a very personal space for anybody, especially serious food bloggers or any bloggers for the matter, be it lifestyle or music or whatever. If you notice, you know, my persona on the blog is what people know me by my writing. That's what I usually use as a platform. But when it comes to cooking, I experiment with, like, millions of ingredients around the world. For me, it's just been like what's in season, what I can find when I travel, or maybe even locally. So for me, it's always been a challenge, and I'd rarely repeat the dishes which I cook. So for like an Indian project coming my way was like a complete new ball game for me, and I was damn excited about it.
So will that change the face of your blog, or will you'll continue doing what you?
The blog for me is a very personal space. It's something which I've really not gone to commercialize it. It's something which I keep for myself. If there are readers, which I'm sure there are, they're having a blast, reading about a little bit of lifestyle, a little bit of anecdotes which happen, which kind of showcase my journey to where I stand today. So that's been exciting, and I always intend to keep it that way. So you will still find a lot of fun experiments which happen in my kitchen, even off the grid.
And observations on life which you normally start off. That's good.
And also recipes.
Yeah. So Sai, coming from this bit of personal space, you were one of the first bloggers to get into business relationships with people, whether it was your bread baking classes or whether it was working with brands, developing spreads for them, sandwiches for them, or consulting them on their products. So what I want to know is that when you went and approached them and said that you were a blogger, did they take you seriously? Did it sort of add to it or diminish to your offer?
Well, yes and no, but to tell you a little bit of the history of where it started really, I started the blog because I wanted to record recipes for posterity, and because, to very frankly tell you, I was a bored housewife. My husband was, he worked in the finance industry, he worked very late hours, and I was getting bored. So I would write, and the first 2-3 projects that came to me, I didn't approach the clients. They saw my blog, they saw my work, and they approached me. So it didn't really need any convincing, so to speak. But when one started pitching to clients, making cold calls, one realized that having a little bit of experience and a little bit of education, I've done a 2-year course in bakery and confectionery, so I was able to put that on my profile and on my CV and say that I have a background. It's not just the blog, because unfortunately food blogging has almost become a bad word. People sort of assume that you're a freeloader, and people assume that you don't know much, you just want to sort of dabble in food. So there were other consultants, for instance, that I worked on a project, so there was me and there was another consultant. So he wouldn't take me very seriously until one day I had to show him that I know my technique and I know my stuff.
Professional.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it really, I'd say it really helps to polish your craft and make sure that whether you're a blogger or a food professional or whatever you blog about, you know your stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's important to educate yourself. So treat your blog as a tool of education, not so much as a place to boast of what you can do.
So a tool for self-education.
Yes.
But I think also your blog is it's a showcase of what you're capable of doing. So it doesn't matter if today the projects I'm working on are not related to my blog. The way I approach my blog and put it together tells anybody who's coming there what I'm capable of.
This is what Regina is. This is what Regina
does. This is your, and also
it is personal,
and that personal touch is there. It's very different from brand website, So it's like a lot of blogs are not very structured, which I think is fine because it's meant to be like a personal diary.
But the only thing that I always tell bloggers when they ask me about blogging and how to make it a success is, do the best you can with your blog. Like, don't. Remember how you once told me how I had typos on my blog, and I really work very hard to work around those. I make spelling mistakes because I'm dyslexic. So it's your showcase to the world. It's like you wouldn't invite someone into a dirty house. So it's your home on the internet, and you want to make it look good. I think also with bloggers and food blogs, what it gave all of us, I think, was a platform to showcase ourselves.
Absolutely, like a calling card. So talking of platform, Nandita, you've set up these entire chain of baking classes which you do in Bangalore, and now you've come in Mumbai and done it as well, baking classes, salad classes, and it's been built around the brand Saffron Trail and Nandita Iyer. So what I want to know is that did your blog help you market this, or did you have to go to external agencies or media houses to market yourself? How much did the blog help you market yourself?
Well, I'd say entirely because honestly, we don't have the ways and means to approach media agencies and PR and advertising for ourselves. It's we are like a one-man army in most cases. Food bloggers. We are the marketers. We are the ones who do the work, and we are our own PR agents. So like everybody said, it's I think entirely the blog is what people were reading for so many years, and then I think my whole getting into this workshop thing was because the readers kept pushing, and the people who read my blog around me, like my neighbors and stuff, they said that, wow, why don't you do this? And being such a laid back person, I would never take it seriously, and eventually I'll say that I give all credit to my a couple of my neighbors who once just got all the ingredients. They said, send us the notes, we'll get it printed, you just come make an appearance for 3 hours and teach us stuff. And that's when I realized I enjoyed it so much. And trust me, if somebody asked me to do something on my own like that, I think I would think I was not capable of it, or that's the I would just run away from taking that step. But I think entire credit to people like readers, friends, and people who push us into it, and then we realize, wow, yeah, we can do something, right? So I think, yeah, no marketing.
The blog. So I think the important point, Nandita, like you said, is that as bloggers we are one-man armies, and therefore use our blogs to sort of build our brand, which is what all of you guys were also saying, and that's why it's so important that we be careful about what we are putting up there. There's this question which Zinia Irani has put up on Facebook, and I'm going to address that to you, Nikhil, because of the group here. I think apart from me, you're the one person who's had a day job for the longest while, starting with a plywood company.
Yes.
You didn't eat plywood there, right? I mean, there's no food connect over there.
No.
So Zenia's question is that is it possible to make food writing or blogging a part-time career along with having a full-time day job, or does one have to take the plunge completely? And if I was to interpret that question, she's not saying whether I can blog along with working, but whether I can make money off my blogging while I'm working.
Right. If you look at me personally, I use my corporate job to sustain myself, because blogging really is not all about the money. You can monetize, you can advertise, you can have different sources of income which you can convert into yours, but eventually you need something to fall back on. And I feel that, at least for me, the way it worked out, yes, I did have my blog and my corporate job for over 5 years, in fact more than that, which I kind of balanced. It takes a lot of hard work, because and the good thing was, I know I'm jumping a little ahead, but I am the kind of writer who would write in the night. Like I'd stay awake after dinner, including like even after midnight. That's why midnight snacks actually came into being for me. But I would stay up like till 3, 4 in the morning, finish my post, and or maybe whatever little writing I was doing, and go to work the next day. But you need that little bit. You need to be at a certain level in your blogging career to be able to balance both and yet make money off it. I had my ways of making money off it at that point, never on the blog, but separately, with various consultancies and whatever little work came my way. So it's completely possible to do both.
Also, but specifically because she's asking about food writing, so I don't think you have to work really hard to make food writing a viable career.
To live just off food writing.
So I mean, I did it for a long time.
And with a lot of people, you wrote with a lot of people.
I wrote with a lot of people. It takes a lot of discipline, because you have to work, and if you also have a day job, then that's that much harder. My day job was looking after my child, so
which is
it was So if I didn't have my husband who was keeping the house running, I think it would have been very difficult.
So Sai, talking of monetizing, which some people are asking, the things like Google ads and stuff like that, and you've seen the blogging journey over almost 8 years. Have you ever tried putting ads on blogs, and did that work? Was that like a big...
To tell you frankly, I never wanted to put up any ads on the blog, because to me, if you think logically, if I were to go to somebody's blog to read something, I want to read something, not get distracted by an ad and go off to some other page. So even now, and never have I had any ads on the blog. But when I started my YouTube channel, I realized that there is a certain amount of investment that's going into the channel, because I run it with my brother who takes care of the technical aspects, and obviously there is equipment and things like that involved, and you have to justify cost somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's where on the YouTube channel I started inserting ads, which makes for a little bit of income. It's pocket money, if I can call it that.
That's what Nikhil was making also, that, or Rushina, that through writing, or now you're saying that even ads on blogs, there's not that much money you can make. So I think that's probably the reason why all of you are doing things like...
you can make money on ads.
You can, but whether you want to is the question.
In India?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a whole different ball game where you have to like again sustain your blog and do a lot of SEO and stuff like that. And for me also, I think, like say, it was my personal space. I wouldn't sell anything to you if you came to my house. So I'm not going to sell anything to you if you come to the blog. I do occasionally I do work in the consulting space. So if there's something I love with people I work with, I mention it on the blog, but usually mention that I work with them as well.
So Nandita, I'm coming back to you, and this is a topic you've written about once on your blog, and what the panel here is talking about the blog being a personal space. Now the thing is that a lot of our readers sort of expect posts from us to be like not associated with anything which is monetary, and also what they're reading is in a way free because you're not subscribing to a blog or paying to read it and stuff like that. So what has the audience reaction been when a commercial angle comes in, like whether you say talk about your baking classes on the blog, or if you talk about brand associations, what has the reaction been then with the readers? Are they willing to take this?
See, I've never had any readers come and tell me that something was disagreeable or something, because I try and keep if I'm giving a healthy recipe and I'm talking about something useful, and if that is a brand that I'm talking about and there is a disclosure, I think I'm being fair and I'm being honest. I'm being upfront about the whole thing that hello, this post is for this brand and they have sent me the products and I'm experimenting with this, and this is the recipe I'm sharing with you. So and I've been open enough to disclose. So I think I trust the readers to either accept this thing, or it's up to them if they want to believe what I'm saying or not. But at least I've been open about it, and I think readers are also smart. They realize they're getting some value in the end. But I feel most of this anti-campaign and anti-monetizing thing happens. I've seen the most of it only on Twitter. I have not had anyone leaving me comments or hating on me for associating with any brand on the blog. It's I think Twitter just makes you completely open to all these attacks and just
Key expectations from blogging is transparency, and it's important that thing be there. So I think what I want to do is, since I've got such an exciting panel with me and such a wealth of experience with me, so I want some closing thoughts from you guys to like bloggers as well as aspiring bloggers, that what should they focus on? Like should they come into blogging with hopes of making money, or what should be the motivation to start blogging or to keep it going? Anyone? Yeah, Nikhil.
Passion. Like you need to be completely dedicated to the content which is coming out in your space. You need to learn that, look, you're not depending on somebody else's direction when you're doing your blog. Like for example, if you're writing for a magazine, there are always like the editors and the other people behind the magazine who are going to kind of guide you to that path, saying this is the content required, this is the direction you have to take.
So your own passion and individuality should come through.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to take closing comments for everyone. So Rushina, so Nikhil's talking about the individual passion. What about you? Any words of advice to bloggers coming in?
When we started blogs, we started them very organically because it worked out for us. Now I think a lot of people start a blog with the view to making a career out of it. So if you want to do that, it's a great way to start, because you can focus on the subject you want to talk about and showcase your knowledge through your blog. But I think along with being passionate, you also need to be your own editor.
So be passionate, but be editor. Be particular about what's going on.
Exactly. Like it's very easy to write endlessly. I know, because I do it all the time. But you have to take the eye out of that relationship with your blog.
And get to the point. Sai, any closing thoughts,
Like
words
I
of
said
advice from
earlier, you
Maichola?
can get into blogging initially with, I feel it's best to get into blogging first with the idea of educating yourself, because there's a world out there that's willing to teach you. So I had a background in bakery and confectionery, but when I started blogging and I read other blogs and I went to so many other websites, I got to learn so much more. And it's only after an X period of time that I'm now confident and willing to sort of put my expertise out there.
Fantastic.
So I think you have to be prepared for that initial period of, I won't say struggle, but learning.
Of learning.
Yeah, and then think about monetizing.
So learn first and then look at monetizing.
Also research.
Research.
absolutely.
Research about what
You need to read up.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of times, or network, or interact.
interact with people. Nandita, any closing thoughts from you for bloggers who are watching the program?
Well, all of the above. And yeah, like everybody said, you need, if you're writing a food blog, for example, you need to, know what the trends are. You need to keep abreast of, the techniques, everything. You can't just write the way, maybe I'm just talking at home, something random. It's on the internet, and before you hit the publish button, you have to be sure that what goes out is really worth being out there. And just because, it's very easy to start a blog, you can't just, do a shoddy job. I think that is the beginning everybody has, and then after a couple of years, after a year, nowadays, even a year-old bloggers are doing great at monetizing. So if you want to go ahead, monetize, make a full-time career out of food blogging, it is very much possible in today's times. But make sure the product is good. Make sure what you're putting out there is really good.
So that's some great words of advice. I think I've learned quite a lot by talking to the four of you today, and I hope you've also enjoyed the chat, got some ideas in terms of where you can take your food blog to, or this motivated you to start food blogging. So keep watching on Adda with Kalyan. Let us know what you'd like to hear next. Write to me at kalyan@pingnetwork.in. Tell me what you'd like me to discuss in an Adda, whom you'd like me to call, and I'm happy to bring them in. So see you next week.